Hello everyone, welcome back. So now that you have my first few impressions of this whole setup from Adventure Spec, the dash to my view, maybe not yours, the regular dash here of the bike from factory is not inhibited. I can't even think of the right word, but it's not hidden by any of this. The only caveat I will say on the 300L, the 300 Rally won't matter because all this will be raised up more and you won't add this to it anyway, is this brake line thing. Even though I have this little adapter down here that moves it out of the way of this, now I think it puts it closer to this. So I mounted with my own mount. I drilled a couple of holes as high as I could get it and moved this GPS bracket where this mounts a cradle for the Garmin up as high as I could here to get this not in the way of it as much. But riding down the road, you can't, you're still looking over the top of this by a lot. Like to my eye level roughly, my eye level is probably 6 or 7 inches above this. So this is not tall even sitting on the bike at all. But it does actually help, like I was saying earlier in the walk around video, it does help quite a bit at, deer right there. Where's another one? Got to really watch this area. Especially there's a lake right here and they're everywhere. Like that deer is just running to that people's field because I scared it off somewhere, and now it's like, oh, there's more over there, 2 more. That's probably the group they come from. But sorry to get off topic, but this does help a lot at like say 50 miles an hour and above. It takes some of that pressure off your chest. It will make it if you wear like an ADV helmet, which most of you will be, or there's another deer. You wouldn't think there'd be any still out at 10 o'clock in the morning, but they are. It will make it louder in your helmet because it forces a lot of that air that was clean air around your helmet that was normally on your chest, and now that's moved that airflow up a little bit, and it does make it a little louder, but it does make the rider more comfortable as far as not having all that wind beating on your chest as bad. Because even though I live pretty close to off-road section, if I take the road back from the little adventure route that me and a couple of my friends take, it's a 30, maybe 40 minute 4-lane ride back to get close to this area where we're back on 2-lane stuff like this. So I feel like the next time I really take a longer ride on this bike and not a just a little 15-20 mile an hour loop around town like I'm doing now, I feel like the next adventure ride that I go on will I'll definitely notice a difference. And not only that, I've got my GPS now that I can start recording some of the tracks on and follow where we're at, and like where the road forks. I can have a charger, even though I don't really use my phone much for navigation, especially with this. Now on the bike, I have a way to charge my phone. That's one thing I forgot to say on the walk around. On these Hondas especially, because this is a made for Honda kit, I did forget to mention that. It is made for the 300L, so it doesn't interfere with any of this. The brackets line up. There's nothing in the way. You don't have to move anything to make it work. It built up really nice and it's well engineered. My only complaint about it is on the bottom, the gap this way, like depth on the front is where I have, and some people might not have that. I really need like a spacer, like a 3D printed spacer to space that back, because I had to put 90-degree wire connectors on mine because the straight on ones were hitting the bottom of the screen and preventing that bottom middle bolt to start. I put 90-degree connectors on that and it did help, but it is still barely touching. It's only like, if it was a millimeter away, it wouldn't be touching at all, but it's still barely touching, and I'm not particularly fond of that. But that's what happens with all these bolt-on stuff. Nothing is perfect. There's always a little bit of tweaks here and there. They can test up all they want, but you know, if they use on their mock-up, if they use a cigarette lighter 12 volt like I put on, that it was, you know, 3/8 of an inch or maybe 15 millimeters shallower and not deeper like I have, then it wouldn't be a problem. But of course, another way you could do it is you could try to find one of these Amazon specials, which that's all mine is. You could try to find one that maybe you couldn't plug the wires in and out of it, and it was just like the wires were coming out of the back, and then it wouldn't have those spade terminal sticking out for the wires to go on, and that would solve that problem too. I'm sure if I got on a 3D printer website or something like that, I could buy that part, and I might still do that. But the initial install was a lot of work, a lot of wiring and cable management to really get all that tucked in there. Especially with me with a Cyclops kit, it was a lot of stuff to pack in a pretty small area about the size of the palm of your hand, and not much for depth. Like I said, I'll do my best to put a picture I made before when I had, of course it'll have the headlight off on the install, but it's not anything that someone can't do for all that wiring, but it is a little tedious, and you have to make sure there's nothing getting pinched, all that. But you know, if you go with that factory Honda connector, if you do happen to make a mistake and don't catch it, it is a fuse with the key on only power source. So if you screw something up, the worst thing it'll do, you'll lose GPS and whatever else you've got into it. My Cyclops light are running off that, but it is a 5 amp factory wired circuit. My lights are off of it, this and this hardly ever use. So even if this is on and the lights are on, you're talking, you know, they're LEDs, not much. It's not 5 amps. Otherwise it had already tripped it. So you know, but this uses like the bigger, older mini USBs. A lot of you who are watching this are probably not even familiar with that, but that only charges at like 3/4 of an amp. So this isn't pulling anything. The lights are probably not that, so we're probably at about 2.5 amps, give or take. So whatever. If it trips it, I can always add something later to, you know, separate the two. I'm not too worried about that. You know, I wouldn't put heated grips on that circuit too, because then it would definitely blow it. But you know, I'll just wear thick winter riding gloves or electric powered gloves with the battery in them if that comes the case. But this bike in the wintertime is not going to be fun because there's almost no wind protection anyway. So this is normally a, you know, a warmer season kind of bike for me anyway. So but on that, guys, if you like today's motovlog, have any questions or comments about that, please leave them down below. Remember to likes go a long way to help support the channel. If you've not already done so, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. On that, guys, ride safe and have fun. We'll see you on the next one. See ya.